The legal market obviously is constantly changing everywhere in the world, and the legal market in Brazil is no different. The new demands imposed by the market put a lot of pressure on the lawyers, not only on the new entrants, but also on all the existing legal community, and on the law schools that have to prepare professionals adapted to the new market demands. Take the example of a lawyer, for instance, who started law school in 1966. He comes from a family of lawyers, but has still the image of a lawyer as a solo practitioner. He has the opportunity in 1968 to travel around the world for 2 months. He gets an unformatted idea of globalization as something that might occur in the future. He learns very quickly that the profession is starting to move from the solo practitioner model to law firms. He gets graduated in 1971 and decides to take an MBA program because he feels that the law school prepared him to be a litigator or a professor, but has not prepared him to be a corporate business lawyer, which was what he wanted. After getting his MBA, he decides that in order to face the challenges of globalization, he needed to leave and study abroad. He then goes and takes an LLM in the US in 1995-96 and works for the 10th largest US law firm for 1 year. He comes back to Brazil and in 1978, together with another friend, creates a small corporate law firm. The law firm begins to service a number of foreign clients in addition to Brazilian clients. The firm starts to grow and become a benchmark to other firms, adopting written rules to define the career of its associates and partners, creating industry-focused groups and country practices to better service the clients, and later on, multidisciplinary practice groups. To make a long story short, the firm grew in 35 years from a 2-lawyer boutique firm into a 400-lawyer full-service law firm. As you may have already guessed, this lawyer is the person speaking to you now. It is the person who has had to adapt to a lot of changes in the legal marketplace. In order to meet the changing requirements of the marketplace, lawyers must pay careful attention to the new skills that are constantly being demanded from them and which can make a difference vis-à-vis the client in order to differentiate him or her from a competitor and in order to help him to create new ways and structures to better service the clients. In my view, it is extremely important that the lawyer, in addition to his or her legal skills, develop an in-depth knowledge of the business of the client. In regulated business, this is a must. It is, however, becoming more and more difficult for only one person to master all aspects that may impact the activities of a given client. One has to create groups of lawyers for that purpose. More recently, we in the firm have created groups not with single views, but rather with a multidisciplinary approach. We had the lawyers involved with energy, for instance, or oil and gas or renewable energy in separate groups. Now we have a multidisciplinary group called Natural Resources, formed with professionals who have knowledge of the regulations, knowledge of the business, but also different legal skills such as corporate taxes, real estate, IP, labor, and others, which are specific to these businesses. What about the importance of linguistic and cultural skills? Although on cross-border transactions, English has already prevailed as the language of the negotiations and as the language of the legal documents, still, if the lawyer is able to converse with the client in his or her native language, he will have a huge competitive advantage. Even more important is the ability of the lawyer to understand the client from a cultural point of view. His or her style of negotiation of the client, for instance, or how he or she shall entertain the client on social occasions. That is the reason behind the creation of the country practices in our firm. This need is only growing. The faster globalization grows and new emerging economies start to play a bigger role in the world economy, the bigger is this need. Another relevant point for lawyers to meet the constant changes in the market has to do with the structures that they use to service the clients. In my opinion, in order to service medium or large clients, lawyers will have to organize or join full-service law firms. I believe that boutique law firms can no longer offer the required multidisciplinary approach that I have just mentioned, and cannot have sufficient financial means to make the necessary investments in training, technology, business development, and other matters, which are now required to successfully compete in the market, or in other words, to be a sustainable enterprise. A sustainable law firm, in my view, has to be built in 4 pillars. First pillar, clear rules regarding admission, training, promotion, and retirement of associates and partners. Second pillar, clear rules of governance. Every partner has to feel represented, and the firm has to ensure a strict compliance with the legal requirements. Third pillar is strict observance of the ethical principles of the profession as stated by the bar, or in its absence or in addition to, with ethical principles defined by the firm itself. Last pillar, involvement with the community as a whole through an organized pro bono or social responsibility project. Law firms, therefore, have to be managed in a business-like manner, and although one can hire professionals to manage the firm, it is essential that at least a group of partners have sufficient managerial skills to lead the firm from a strategic perspective. Should law schools teach this? The legal markets are becoming more and more global. Law firms are consolidating, but yet, in general, the legal environment remains highly competitive. Some markets are open to competition from foreign providers. Others are not. How lawyers from the more open markets compete with the new peers? Will the old distinction between civil law countries and common law countries be significantly reduced, since a growing number of contracts are governed by either U.S. or U.K. law, and more civil law contracts are being drafted using a common law format? What will happen in countries that are open to foreign providers when 20 or 30 new legal providers started to offer services at more or less the same time? Will this benefit local lawyers? What would be the impact of lawyers working for non-lawyers investors, as it is now becoming permitted in some countries? Will the ethical principles of the profession change because of this new trend? These are examples of issues that are now being debated in various countries in the world, and which show how changing is the profession lately. Lawyers these days have to be concerned not only with the technical quality of their work, but also with the efficiency that they service their clients. To control the speed of their responses, they must be well versed in technology. But not only that, how to minimize the risks of a quick response without an adequate research. Libraries of law firms are empty. An old friend of mine used to say the following: to be a good lawyer, one with sufficient time for research, 2 days to write the opinion, it is easy. The difficulty is to be a good lawyer when one has to give a 5-minute answer to the client in a short email. Clients, on the other hand, are requesting secondees from their service providers. So lawyers must more and more build a partnership with their clients. The biggest challenge for lawyers to improve efficiency is the level of investments that are needed for that vis-à-vis the constant demand from clients for lower fees. At the end of the day, the issue is what is the role that the law schools can or must play to help the students meet the new challenges and changing conditions of the legal marketplace. It is possible for the schools to provide programs with information about a variety of industries and services. Should law schools train lawyers for management? I know that Northwestern is here, and I know that there is a program, Northwestern Kellogg, to help this. In Brazil, the law programs are undergraduate. In the U.S., they are postgraduate programs. Should in Brazil at least part of the required training be divided between the undergraduate and postgraduate programs? There is no doubt to me that law schools in general must prepare the students better so that they will be able to cope with the various changes that lie ahead. So I want to thank the Getúlio Vargas School of Law for the invitation to be present here and speak to you today. But in addition, I want to congratulate the school, Buscar, Paulo, and all the others for the great work that they are doing. The Getúlio Vargas School of Law is bringing new blood to the market, introducing new approaches to the challenges that I have listed. I truly believe that its example will influence all the other good Brazilian law schools so that in a short period of time they will be responding very efficiently to the market needs. Thank you.
Well, as you saw, we made the right choice in inviting José Luis. I think he gave not just a Brazilian perspective on the issue, but probably the challenges that law firms are having all around the globe. So the floor is open for questions.
Maybe I can give you a short overview of the regulations in Brazil, our current bar rules. Today in Brazil, to practice Brazilian law, you need to be either a lawyer graduated in Brazil first, or if you're a foreign lawyer, you can revalidate your degree in Brazil. And both Brazilians and foreigners, we have to take a bar exam. Foreign lawyers may also choose not to take the bar and practice Brazilian law, but rather work as purely foreign legal consultants, and they registered with the bar for that purpose. The view of the Brazilian bar, my organization is not responsible for regulations, just the Brazilian bar is responsible for such regulations, but actually the profession is regulated by a federal law, differently from other countries. But the current view of the Brazilian bar is that the regulations are liberal, and the bar is not breaching any provisions of any World Trade Organization agreements, since there was no agreement on the service round. As I said, there is a federal law regulating the profession. This law requires that all partners of a law firm be lawyers admitted to the bar, And also, lawyers cannot associate themselves with non-lawyers. And this is valid for engineers, accountants, doctors, whatever, and foreign lawyers, because they are non-lawyers in Brazil. So that's I think is the current scenario here in Brazil.
Mira?
Hi, my name is microphone because we are recording, please.
Hi, my name is Mira Demel, and I'm coming from NYU Law School, so in the States. Thank you. That was that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It was a really thoughtful overview you just gave, and I would encourage you should publish that because it's really, really very thoughtful. I actually wanted to pick up on a couple themes, but the first question was just this point that you made about having gone to do an MBA, because your sense was that law school had not prepared you to be a transactional lawyer. How do you think about that in terms of if we're talking about reforms for legal education generally? Do you think that things like joint degrees, like joint MBA law degrees, are useful? I mean, how would you sort of recommend to people who are thinking about legal education how the curriculum specifically might address that concern that I think a lot of our students definitely have reflected to us?
Actually, I took my MBA here at the Getúlio Vargas Foundation. I think my view should be maybe a joint program on I don't know, more or less like Northwestern and Calgary. We have some partners who went to Northwestern and felt that was a good experience. Or the alternative, I think, would be to include in the law school more matters dealing with accounting, economy, and things like that, and maybe then the lawyer would have a chance to take the MBA later, but already, having taken some of the subjects that could be eliminated when he goes to an MBA program.
Mm-hmm.
Just to, as a matter of fact, we have here a joint program for our undergrads.
Yeah.
So they enter here or in the School of Economics or in the Business Administration, and they can make a joint program and have a double degree.
As undergraduates.
As undergraduate.
That's very interesting.
And they can obviously move to an MBA or an LLM. That's a second choice. But I think this is the first double degree program with law, business, and economy in the country. And well, in fact, the regulations for law schools are so tough in Brazil that this may then take a lot of effort. It will take 6 years for them to complete, at least 6 years.
The dual degree.
Yeah, a dual degree.
Do you, as between like shaping the curriculum to include these types of courses versus your experience of actually being in a business program where you were working with people who went out into the business world, do you have a sense about which is better? Because we are, of course, thinking about both.
I like the model of the joint program. I think it works well. I would shoot for that.
You think it's better?
Yeah.
Because then your network is developed a little bit also.
Yeah.
Pierre Larouche from Tilburg Law School. A number of us, so we've shared experiences this morning, so we're working on these global law programs, and we get mixed messages from law firms. So some law firms say we'd rather have students who are trained in the national legal system and operational, let's say, from day one, and others are saying, no, you are training too much in black letter law. You need to develop other skills. So I'd like to hear your views on this, and I'd like also if you could say, do you see a trade-off between the two, or is it possible to do both? Because you could, if we put more time in developing other skills, perhaps we might have less time to train students in positive law.
I will start from the second. I think you could do both. this is not exclusive. I think the challenge is in global programs, and we were discussing for 5 or 10 minutes before lunch. I think the challenge is that you have to prepare a lawyer to get admitted in one jurisdiction at least, and be a recognized practitioner in that jurisdiction. So couldn't be too much global, too much fluid, because in our case we are a civil law country, so there is a specific law training for a civil law country. There is a different training for a common law country. So if a student in Brazil wants to be a lawyer in Brazil, he has to have the necessary training in civil law and be able to get admitted. I think that's the test. Is you have to prepare people who can be admitted in the jurisdiction that he or she wants to practice.
The second.
No, the second I answered first. I think this can live together. Yeah.
Is there a specific recognitions of Portuguese diplomas in Brazil?
Yes, there is a special regime for that. One of the things I was saying before lunch is when you think about regulation of foreign lawyers in another country, for instance of Brazil, if you open to foreign lawyers, you are not only opening for the Clifford Chances, for the Linklaters, for the Krieg Gottliebs, for the Sullivan and Crowns. You are going to have to open to everybody. So immediately we will have lawyers from our neighboring countries, people from Uruguay, from Paraguay, from Ecuador, trying to practice in Brazil. So the impact of these regulations are at all levels of the profession. It's not only in the upper level of the profession. So that's why it is a big discussion here. It is a big discussion in India. It's a big discussion in China and other countries. Yeah? And I think what is happening in Canada or Australia is teaching us some examples, and I think people would react to these examples in the future.
Hi, I'm Jim Spetta. I'm from Northwestern, and thank you for your talk and your kind words about Northwestern. One of the things, we do a lot of integration of business in our curriculum, and one of the sort of progressions has been from what might be called the harder business, the hard business skills, a lot of finance, a lot of accounting, that sort of thing, to an emphasis on what the business school people sometimes call the soft skill, the teamwork, the project management, the leadership, et cetera. We sort of see that as a natural progression, but is it part of the progression or the experience that you're looking at as well?
Sure. I think lawyers, namely in the upper levels as partners, mainly, they are becoming project managers. I think project management, for instance, is a very, very important training for a lawyer these days. Also, management in general of the law firm, as I mentioned, Getúlio Vargas has a special program for not only lawyers in managerial positions but professional managers. It's a very interesting program. I had the occasion to teach there for 2 or 3 years. This is important, I think, because at a certain point, lawyers become more managers. Regardless of whether they really are part of the management committee of the firm, but they're manager of their team. So this team training is very important as well. But I just re-emphasizing what I said. I think the key today is multidisciplinary groups. So how you work as a team with people that have different backgrounds, and how the client sees this as an integrated group.
Thank you.
Again, let me join the sincere thanks for your talk. It's a question for you about how you see law schools in general. So there's been a stratification of firms and economic and other legally related activity, and as a result, what you were describing as a stratification of legal services, stratification of law firms, because the small solo practitioners, they don't provide, they don't support the big M&Es, the multinationals, but they do support, small people. And so the question for you would be, as representing the sector whom we serve, for whom we train lawyers, is do you foresee a stratification of law schools that would mirror that stratification of law firms? That is to say, a small group of law schools that would focus on the law firms that focus on the multinationals, and other law schools who address other issues, other challenges. Because right now, the model for law school that we are familiar with is the generalized law school.
Yeah, no, I think fortunately or unfortunately, I think the answer is yes. I see more stratification because also law school is a business. You must focus what you want to be, and I think it's becoming more and more difficult to be everything and to really do well for all areas of the profession or all levels of the profession. Sure, I think maybe it is happening in Brazil to some extent. That I think it's unfortunately, but it's.
You see the social issue that arises out of such a stratification.
You are creating A lawyers, B lawyers, C lawyers, and things like that.
Hello, I'm Luís Barreto Xavier from Catholic in Lisbon, and I had the pleasure to visit your law firm two years ago with one of your partners, and it was a great experience. And also of having been in a meeting of CESA in Rio.
There is one CESA in Portugal. You have copied us.
But my question deals with the recruitment of lawyers.
In other words,
what is key for you when you recruit a lawyer?
Well, that's a good question because it's a combination of so many factors. I think law schools are important. Probably one of the first items in the list where this person has studied. We require foreign languages, English at least, but if the person is able to speak other languages, it is a plus. We do, for me specifically, my way is the personal interview is very, very important. Talking about recent graduates, people with no working experience, I think the personal interview is key.
But what do you look for in a personal interview?
Difficult to define. Difficult to define. I think you in each law firm, I think you sort of create a model type for the partner that you want to have in the future. First of all, in the personal interview, you have to have a clue whether that person can be a partner in the future. We don't want just to hire associates, and they leave. I have to look at and see if that person, can see a future partner of the firm. And in that case, if that person, fulfills this model that we have for partners in the firm, a person more business-like, outgoing, being able to, really conduct business development and things like that.
So more skills than knowledge, actually.
Yeah. I think knowledge, at least in Brazil, because of the problem we have with law schools not preparing too well, except the Getúlio Vargas School of Law. I think law firms over the years they have prepared themselves to train lawyers. Some people, there are 2 or 3 or 4 firms that says there is the university of that firm because they have created a program, really formal to train lawyers. So I would say everybody's prepared to train lawyers. Knowledge is in a very recent graduate. Obviously, it is part. But if you look at the law school he or she went to, then you kind of guess the kind of knowledge that. But I'm looking more for skills, really.
So Joaquim Falcão just arrived. He is the dean, my colleague dean of the Fundação Getúlio Vargas in Rio. So if you want to say something more than just make a question, please feel free, Professor.
It's not to make a question, but to share with you. Once I've been in a seminar with some investors from New York in the state. The seminar was in New York. On one side, the investors from Wall Street, and the other side, some corporation specialized in education and technology. And once one investor asked to the most profitable corporation in education and technology, he had just said that he would not invest in technology because in 3 or 4 months this technology is available. So he would take some care about investing in technology. He says, I invest in human resource. And then this guy asked, how do you hire a person? The same question you have made. And he gave the audience an answer that I kept in my mind, not when I'm recruiting lawyers, but when I'm recruiting law professors. The man asked back, say, look, the first thing I look if he is a problem solver. I want people who has expertise in problem solver. Then I want him to be a data finder. That means he knows how to go to the facts, and mainly in this moment of internet and all the thing. And third, I want him to be a yes person. I mean, a person who works in a favorable group in a positive way. So I keep these 3 things in my mind: a problem solver, data finder, and a yes person. And he said, well, if he passes, I go into the diploma, I go into the where he come from, etc., etc., etc. Just to share with you this.
So, thank you very much for your speech. I'm Martel Geusens from Tilburg Law School. I was wondering how many of the cases, a percentage, how many of them are transnational, and how you deal with them, whether it's in teams or what kind of way you have for.
We don't measure exactly, but we believe that more or less in the firm we have half of the clients foreigners, half of the clients Brazilian. If the client, if it's a cross-border matter, we try 2 or 3 tests. If we have a country practice, and we have sort of Japanese country practice, Chinese, Korean, German, French, Italian, we try to get someone from the country practice involved. Then if it's an industry where we have a specialized team for that industry, we pick one person from that industry as well. And if it's an M&A, you would involve the corporate teams in that. The supporting our supporting departments like tax, labor, litigation. We also have the ability to staff the matter with people who have experience in cross-border matters.
Someone else? Okay, so thank you, José Luis. It was an immense privilege to hear you. And thanks for the recognition of law school, which was the most important of all. And, well, I think this is food for thought for the afternoon discussions. Thank you. Thank you very much.